Mike Tyson is the best boxer the world has ever seen, knocking out the best boxers in the world for fun in his prime. Many view him as a crazy lunatic, and others view him as a legend, but either way, you have to admit that Iron Mike Tyson is easily the greatest the boxing world has ever seen. But how did he do this? Well, this is what we are finding out today. Michael Gerard. Tyson was born on the 20th of June 1966 in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, New York City to Lorna Smith. Mike grew up in a tough area, which then led to him living a similar lifestyle. He grew up stealing and street fighting, which led to him having several sentences in Bridges juvenile prison where he was in and out of all the time. Tyson's life was destined to fail because of his life of crime, but what changed in his mind was his passion for boxing. Mike had a passion for boxing at a very young age, taking particular liking to Muhammad Ali, doing the Ali Shuffle in his first ever fight. Tyson had his first fight when he was about 11 or 12, when his pet pigeon's head got ripped off by another boy. He hesitated at first, but after his friend egged him on to punch him, he took a swing and the guy fell to the floor. After he noticed he had been knocked down, Tyson did the Ali Shuffle and the whole crowd clapped. After this, Mike wanted to chase that buzz of knocking people down, so he fought regularly, usually against older men.
It's like 77, 76, I'm 11 years. They played Ali, and then Ali walks in and talked to the kids. And I saw him, I saw everybody going crazy. I said, I want to be like him.
After serving 6 months in his 18-month sentence in the Bridges juvenile prison, Mike got transferred to the Tyson School for boys and was heavily strict. Because Mike wasn't considered as a violent offender, Mike was placed in an open cottage with no lock on the door. Mike began acting out regularly and became a threat for the Tyson guards. The final nail in the coffin came when Mike beat up a kid who tried to steal his hat in the hallway. After this, 2 guards collected him and took him to Elmwood, the lockdown cottage. While in Elmwood, Mike had heard of Mr. Stewart, a guard at Tyson that had a boxing program. He had also heard that everyone there was always smiling and happy. Mike decided he wanted to be in that program. Every time the staff checked on Mike, he would plead with everything he had to get Mr. Stewart. After a while, the staff decided to call Mr. Stewart and told him how he had changed his ways, and all he wanted to do was speak to him. Mr. Stewart came to Tyson's room and was very aggrieved with him, telling him that everyone wanted to be a fighter. After continually screaming at him, Stewart came up with an agreement and said, "If you have good behavior for a month and you go to all of your classes without any incidents, I will teach you how to fight." So Tyson tried his hardest for the next month in all of his classes in order to join the boxing program. After this, Mr. Stewart accepted Mike's request and they got to work immediately. Mike was very large for his age and was an absolute beast compared to others his age. Tyson was feared by guards due to his sheer strength, which is why Mr. Stewart was warned when they had their first sparring session. Mike was making serious progress in his boxing, and it was all he could think about. All Mike wanted to be was a fighter. Mike went to Mr. Stewart's classes during the day, and when all the other kids went to bed, him and Mike would train from 9:30 to 11 p.m. When Mike went back to his dorm in total darkness, he would practice all of the things Stewart had taught him until 3 in the morning. After one of their sparring sessions has came to an end, Stewart had expressed his fear of Mike's eventual release. Stewart had feared that Mike would go back to his life of crime and get killed or locked up again if he went back to Brooklyn. Stewart wanted to find a gym for Tyson so he could stay committed to boxing in order to become great. The reason Stewart had to move Mike to a different trainer was because Mike needed to go to the next level of boxing, and also because Stewart's wife was complaining about all of the black eyes and injuries he would come home with. Mike protested, saying that he wanted to continue with Stewart, but Stewart said that he had to move on for his own good. Stewart managed to get Tyson to work with famous boxing trainer Cus D'Amato and said that he would go to his gym.
Cus would never get tired answering questions. Sometimes my son asked me, so I said, why these guys answer me? Because that's the way I was with Cus.
Right.
You know, but I'm not Cus. Cus would never he would love to answer all my questions because Cus wanted the perception that he knew everything and you should listen to him and take his advice because he knew everything.
Stewart called Cuss asking him if Mike could go for a trail. Cuss said that if he had potential, Stewart should bring him down tomorrow. Stewart had brought Mike down to Cuss's gym, and Mike and Stewart boxed in the ring for everyone to see. Cuss was quite impressed with Mike's performance in the first round, but in the second round, Mike had been hit hard with a couple of punches, and his nose began bleeding profusely. Cuss said, "Okay, that's enough." But Mike protested, saying, "But Mr. Stewart said we never quit." Cuss let them go a third round, and Cuss was quite happy with his performance. Cuss told Stewart that Mike was a heavyweight champion in the making, and that he had to keep training as hard as he was to keep it up. After Mike was told this, he began crying and was absolutely delighted. Mike portrayed himself like a worthless bum most of the time, and it gave him a sort of motivation, knowing that he would be a success after all of those words from Cuss. Mike would train every night with Mr. Stewart, and on the Sunday, Mr. Stewart would call Cuss and report the progress Tyson had been making. Every second week, Stewart and Mike would go down to Cuss's gym and have a session with him. Mike was making serious progress, but still managed to keep up with his schoolwork at Tyson. After consistent training and visits to Cuss's gym, Tyson had served his sentence, and instead of going back to Brooklyn and getting killed or shot, Tyson stayed with Cuss in his New York home. Originally, Tyson wanted to steal from Cuss, and that was what he was used to back in Brooklyn. Tyson later snapped out of it and managed to focus on boxing. Mike was put into a school but said nothing most of the time, as all he could and wanted to focus on was becoming a fighter. Cuss D'Amato had a huge impact on Tyson's life and is the reason I am able to tell this story
There's a guy
today.
that used to be a professional boxer named Bobby Stewart. Mr. Stewart taught me how to box, and eventually said, "I want to introduce you." So he took me upstairs and met Cuss D'Amato. This is all in a couple of months since I've seen Ali. And now I'm training to be a boxer.
Tyson reigned undisputed world champion from 1987 to 1990, something Cuss promised he would achieve with Mike. He was just 20 when he claimed his first belt, and to this day still owns the record of the youngest boxer to ever win a heavyweight title. Mike's fastest knockout was in 8 seconds in amateur boxing and is one of the fastest knocking in boxing history. If you haven't already seen it, here is a video of Mike Tyson after a fight calling out Lennox Lewis.
Yeah, Lennox Lewis, Lennox, I'm coming for you.
Mike, is it frustrating to train like you did and then have this in 7 or 8 seconds?
For this fight, I only trained probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks for this fight. I had to bury my best friend, and I dedicated this fight. I wasn't going to fight. I dedicated this fight to him. I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lennox is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander.
Goodbye and thank you for watching.